Hello, welcome back. This is Miniature Mike. Today we're going to do our next video for character review and comparison. We're going to look at the Black Sun figures. We got a couple unique characters, a couple Vigos, a couple just kind of different henchmen of some and various sorts, and we got a good variety. Some really interesting pieces, some pieces that are like really pivotal to a lot of squads that we'll get to kind of later on. But I'm going to take a look at it chronologically as they released, just explore all of them, and kind of see maybe how some of them fit together, how they could work. And we'll kind of go from there. So anyways, let's jump in first with the universe ones. The first one we have is the Abyssin Black Sun Thug. So this guy overall, not too bad. I think he's rated worse than he actually is, but he's got some things going against him. So HP wise, he does have 20 HP at 8 cost, which is pretty good. Typically, people might have 10 at that point. His survivability range is decent. The reason why it's good is simply because he's cheap and he has stealth, so it can be a little bit more tricky for those ranged people to get to him. However, if people do get on top of him, they'll take him out quick because he has like no defense at all. A very bad defense, but in terms of range situations, like that is going to be very helpful. And the melee survivability is terrible. He's got nothing there. Attack-wise, he's 4 attack. It's pretty average, kind of par for the course for someone who costs 8. Then, other than that, like his max damage is actually fair. So he does 10 damage. He can do 20 damage with Cunning Attack, and he can get 8 attack with Cunning Attack. So that's actually not bad. In the right circumstances, this guy can be +8 and 20 damage for costing 8, which isn't that's not too bad. It's not too bad. If you think about like a Sand Trooper who costs 8, he has 4 attack and does 20 damage, for example. But he also has a lot more defense. So there's kind of that going on. When you get past the max damage, which is fine, his special abilities overall are really good for someone who costs 8. A lot of 8s don't have any special abilities at all. Some do, but he's got stealth, which is great, and then he also has cunning attack. And there's also a variety of characters that can, boost this, can work with stealth to make it better. So, to be fair, I think he has awesome special abilities for how cheap he is. His ability synergy is pretty good, being able to have stealth and cunning attack, being able to have those, shots where you're far away, and people can exactly react to it as well. I think he's decently versatile, especially when you have stealth, and with some of the other Vigos involved, he can have some more other things going on there as well, so it's not too bad. For Black Sun score, I give him a 2.5. Really what it comes down to, his pros, he is pretty cheaper having stealth and cunning attack combo, which is nice. But the cons is that his stats, though, are pretty rough. That base defense is not so hot. You'll die fast. But the other unfortunate thing is it would be nice if he could just do 20 damage by default instead of 10 and then maybe some later. So overall, Blue Milk gives him a 5.39, which is pretty poor. I don't think he's exactly quite that poor, but he's not a great character either by any means. And you can see on eBay, these guys are dirt cheap to pick up. So very interesting. Kind of a cool sculpt, though, I must say. But definitely interesting the fact that it has stealth and cunning attack for a cheap cost. But I don't think I'd really ever see these people being ran in squads ever. But could be a fun challenge sometime. All right, what do we got next? We got Guri. Guri's really, really interesting. I remember when my cousin first collected Guri back in 2006. And Guri was kind of a menace back then. I mean, the 10 damage isn't great, but there's some crazy stuff going on here with Guri. So jumping right into it, overall, I'd say Guri's really good. Just a really, really good character, kind of underrated. The HP is great. So he has 90. So Guri has 90 HP for costing 25. Pretty solid. Melee 95s typically have maybe 70 or 80, so that's pretty solid. Range survivability is awesome. So the reason why it's so good is you have good HP, you have really high defense. Holy smokes. Super, super high defense. And then you have stealth to kind of put that to boot. So even if a ranged shooter could shoot you with maybe accurate shot or they're close enough, you'll probably be in cover. So that's 24 defense. That's really, really good. So Guri's definitely doing great when it comes to range survivability. Same with melee. I shouldn't say same for melee. Melee isn't the worst thing ever, but because you have the good HP and you have really high defense, that's definitely counts for a little bit. So definitely thought it was just poor, not bad, but just kind of poor. The attack overall is crazy. So 13 attack on a melee that's 25 is, I think, it's best you can get in that kind of region of a costing character. So 13 attack, excellent, and it can go to 17 pretty easily when you put cunning attack, which is more or less half the time you might activate Guri. Really, really good over there. Max damage, though, I'd say kind of holds Guri back. It's fair. I mean, the problem with Guri is that Guri just does 10 and has double attack. Could be plus 20 damage in double attack, but the nice thing about it, at least, is with the high attack, you could probably guarantee yourself you will land the hits. It's not very much damage, unfortunately. So, special abilities, I'd say overall are really good. Just kind of like a good variety of things. And here's my reasoning. I would put Guri higher, but there's a couple problems. So first things first, Xizor's bodyguard, pretty solid. Got a lot of HP to protect Xizor, so that's not bad. And then you have stealth, always a good thing. Mobile attack's kind of fun. A little goofy on a character like this when you have double, but again, like, this was before you had other powers that you could do, like move and attack twice, but still really nice to have that mobile attack if the situation warrants it. Melee, of course, double attack, and then cunning attack's great. The one thing for me that drives me insane about Guri is that Guri's a droid, and that's how it was in the book. And other people, or not in the book, but just comics and stuff like that. The problem with Guri is because Guri's a droid, Guri doesn't benefit from any commander effects that any Black Sun character has, which sucks, because there's some great commander effects in Black Sun that will go awesome with Guri. Like, for example, Guri having stealth, Guri could be able to get evade, great mobile attack, all that kind of crap, but can't, unfortunately. And I think, to me, like, if you want to upgrade Guri, you could put in a separatist squad, I guess, but that's a huge strike against Guri, unfortunately, which is a bummer, but Guri has great tools, all things considered that aside. So, anyways, kind of jumping back into it, though, this ability synergy, I think it's pretty fair. I think these abilities mostly are just kind of like a lot of different like tools in a tool bag. That's why the versatility is really good, is because you have the mobile attacking, you have the stealth, you have the bodyguard aspect, you have high attack and damage, so you can like defend yourself. So more versatile than it comes to like just kind of a lot of powers aligning to do one thing. Which is not bad. It's a very solid overall. For Black Sun score, I gave Guri a 3.5. Definitely a really good piece, I'd say, overall. Blue Milk feels the same way at 7.41. Specialty of Guri is a bodyguard. Can do more than just bodyguard, of course, and pretty easy to pick out. So the pros, like great abilities. Like, you have a great assortment of abilities. Very nice. You have great stats, like 20 defense and 13 attack. Is kind of insane, to be honest with you, for someone who costs 25. And this person's from Universe, which is pretty old, so really cool. Some of the cons, though, so the droid it means missing out on good commander effects, and it's a bummer. Like, getting the Vigo's commander effects would have been great. Heck, even getting Xizor's commander effect of plus 4 attack and plus 10 damage would have been great too, but alas, that's what it is. It's a shame there's not some sort of like exception for Guri, but anyway. And then generally just kind of underwhelming damage-wise, which is just another consideration, but overall, pretty good character. Let's move on to the last from the universe. That is Prince Xizor. Prince Xizor overall is really good as well, 3.37. The hit points are really good, so keep in mind Xizor is a shooter, so at 40 cost, having 100 HP is pretty nice. A lot of shooters, more like in the 80s and 90s range, so it's not too out of this world, but it's really good. The range survivability and the melee survivability, I'd say range survivability first and foremost, is pretty solid, and the reason is the reason it's not higher is because Pheromones is only within 6 squares power, but you have great HP, you have really high defense, so it's going to be hard to hit Xizor no matter what. But then if you're close enough with range, then it's going to be even more annoying with Pheromones. That side, melee survivability is awesome because all of those characters who are melee, you have to deal with the pretty high defense, and then you have to deal with Pheromones, which is just a really, really annoying power that just makes it really frustrating to hit Xizor. Sometimes it lands a lot, sometimes it never lands. Depends on your luck of the day, but it's pretty good. Attack-wise, Xizor's great attack. So really, really, really good, awesome attack there. Plus 12. Going to be pretty good. And then on the flip side, the damage is awful. So for Prince Xizor, costing 40 and only absolutely at most being able to do 10 damage is pretty funny. But I mean, it's part of the character. It's what fits him, and it's just how it is. Because like most 40-point characters can do like 60 damage at this level with like 20 and twin attack and cunning and stuff like that. But not Xizor. Xizor does not do damage at all, so he'll be down in the 40s. Special abilities, I'm giving the really good rating just because Pheromones is so powerful. It doesn't have anything else going for him. But Pheromones has its limitations. It's only a more close proximity power, but still, it's really good. Ability synergy, very solid, great stats. Infernomes just makes it hard to hit, but nothing too crazy. The versatility, I don't think Xizor's a very versatile. It's not too bad, but having the survivability, the good stats, and then a nice commander effect that can help a lot of people helps Xizor be decently versatile, but still a little bit limited for sure. Commander effect, I think, is really good, honestly. So allies with stealth gain accurate shot. It's a bit limiting, but there are a lot of great stealth options to give accurate shot to. And then those guys can be really menacing characters for sure. A lot of good characters in Black Sun are the same way. So you can attack an enemy, okay, last commander effect, there we go. Allies with grenades 10, they instead gain grenades 20. So one thing we'll see in a bit, a lot of characters have the power Black Sun, which is just, if there's a Vigo or Xizor in the squad, you get grenades 10. And then this Xizor updates that to grenades 20, which is kind of nice, because like grenades 10, in my opinion, is a terrible power. It's just super, it's just not really worth it usually at all. Grenades 20 is a little bit more interesting, still a little niche, but still much more of an interesting power for sure when you can do maybe 20 damage of group damage to people. So I think it's a really good commander effect. It's a bit like kind of some of this, some of that, kind of limited with like who you can give these powers to, but there's actually some really interesting situations you can do some fun stuff with, which we'll get into later in the video. And then lastly, Black Sun Score, I'll give this Prince Xizor a 3.5, so a really good rating. Blue Milk will agree. Specialties of Prince Xizor being a Black Sun commander, and eBay is about $14. So the pros, hard to kill, kind of nice commander effect overall for a variety of Black Sun characters. The cons are just no offense, and the CE is nice, but it's kind of specific, but if you get the right characters for it, it'll be nice. So overall, pretty cool character in my opinion. I haven't really used Xizor, but I do remember my cousin using this guy all the time back in the day, and he was pretty nice. He was a pretty good character overall and works well with other Black Sun, and I think he even holds up pretty well compared to the new Xizor, but that one's a little bit better. I think that one's a little bit more well-rounded in terms of who can help. But alright, let's move on now to, went too far, Rodian Black Sun Vigo. So this guy's famous for having probably one of the coolest sculpts in the game in my opinion. I've just always dug it. This character though overall is really good. And so the HP on this guy also is unfortunately not one of the best parts. So being a shooter costing 24, you're probably looking at wanting more like 60 or something like that. So his HP is poor, but the range survivability is pretty great overall. The reason for that is high defense and stealth, which is just very, very helpful to kind of boost that survivability. Melee, though, it's not there at all. The attack is also terrible. So this guy costs 24 as a shooter. He only has 5 attack. That's actually the lowest attack for any shooter that's in like the mid-20s. So very bad attack on that range. Max damage, also not very good. He does have double, so he does double and 10 damage. So that's just 20 damage total. Bad attack, so you're not going to land much damage with this guy. But his special abilities are great. And he's got stealth. You know, we all know what stealth is, very handy. Fringe Reserves 20, so one of the first characters to have a reserves power, which I remember back in the day was really, really fun and exciting. Really exciting to have reserves, even if it's kind of a hard one to pull off. It's easier to pull off now with a few other things, but very nice. 20 points of reserves if you roll 20 for initiative, or if you roll, I think, 11 actually for initiative. And then double attack's always solid, so I think these two are really nice powers overall. His ability synergy, I think these things do go well. Having stealth and reserves mean this guy can kind of stay back, use that defense, hopefully be able to pump out those reserves as they come, and then kind of issue your commander effect out. So versatility, I think, is also solid. Commander effect, I think, is pretty great. And here's why. So each follower within 6 squares who has cover cannot be targeted by accurate shot unless it is the nearest enemy. So it's one of the interesting, it's like the only anti-accurate shot kind of characters in the game. So basically it's like essentially just basically like accurate shot. You have the ability to kind of shoot whoever you want, but this says, well, no, you have to essentially go back to the original rules basically, which is, or mostly the original rules of just kind of targeting. So it's kind of fun, kind of an underrated commander effect in my opinion. I think it's pretty good. So Black Sun score wise, I give this guy a 3.5. Really solid overall. Has those limitations, of course. 7.81 on Blue Milk, which is good. Special abilities, that's a Black Sun Commander and a Reinforcer. And then the eBay price is really cheap on these guys. So the pros, I think he's still good. He definitely was great back then, but he's still pretty solid. Commander effect is nice anti-accurate shot. and then first reserves in the game. The cons are he's just really bad stats, and he doesn't really pack much of a punch. And like I said, he's lost his shine a bit to the other two Vigos, but he's still pretty good. So definitely kind of like in my opinion, kind of like a legendary piece, sort of, from Universe set. So pretty sweet. Okay, what do we got next? We got some of the Bounty Hunter ones. So the Aqualish Assassin. I really love these guys personally, for a variety of reasons we'll get into. So overall, I think these guys are really good at 3.49. Their HP is pretty good at 20. Having 20 HP, costing 7, that's pretty standard, but really solid, especially for a melee character. So the range survivability on these guys, I'd say, is awesome overall. And the reason why is you have decent defense, and then you have stealth. And having stealth at how cheap this guy is really you can't understate that. It's really, really nice and effective. Having so many of these guys with stealth can make it really frustrating sometimes to deal with all of them. Melee survivability is bad. Got nothing to help him out there, unfortunately. The attack is exceptional. So having 7 attack and then Opportunist on top of it to get 11 attack on a 7 costing character, that's pretty crazy, pretty insane. So that a 7 attack to 4 attack is plus 4 attack is really good. Max damage is also solid. It's just 10, but with Opportunist you can bump that up to 20. That's pretty good overall. Ability. So your special abilities are great. You have Black Sun. So with Xizor or Vigo, he gets grenades 10, which is kind of like a nice just extra tool thing and tool bag. And reminds you, if you play with Prince Xizor, that's actually grenades 20, which is pretty cool in a character this cheap. He's got melee, Opportunist, which is really good for especially in stealth. So definitely a lot of good ability to just kind of sneak to the enemy and then kind of rush at them and be able to use Opportunists if they've activated, and probably hit them too. So I think their versatility, I think their synergy is great. These powers work very well together to make him a really solid rusher, kind of sneak up on things. Versatility is fine. Black Sun score, I give these guys also a 3.5. They're pretty dang good. Blue Milk, same kind of region, about 7.5. Special abilities, a Grunt Stealth Rusher. And so the pros, they have excellent grunt rushing abilities that are really well suited for doing this. And they have really good, even without grenades. So they can get grenades if they want, but I really like these guys without. There's a squad I made a while ago with Han Solo and Stormtrooper armor. So these guys could have charging fire. They could run all the way. Yeah, sorry, there's a quick break in there. You probably just noticed that. Anyways, just really nice because with that squad they could rush 12. With the Authorian Commander, good pairing with the Authorian Commander, honestly. And these guys were always hitting, lots of damage, tons of fun. So, and then there's other things you can do to make these guys great too. You can give them evade very easily with like I think the Bith Black Sun Vigo does that, but really good. So, anyways, next character, let's move on to the Bith Black Sun Vigo, and he does give evade to people with stealth. So this guy's crazy. Let's jump right into it. So this guy is great. It's a 4.12. The HP on this person's really good. At costing 20, having 50 HP is pretty normal. His range survivability, though, I remember when I first got this guy and first saw this person, I'm just like, holy crap, how do you kill these things? So the range survivability is exceptional for a few reasons. You have the crazy high defense of 19. For a shooter, that's really good. You have evade and mobile and stealth. So all 4 of those things together, it's pretty much like the recipe to incredible range survivability. If you can't hit this person, it's because they didn't use their mobility. And then even if you do, it's probably, you hopefully have accurate shot, of course, because they have stealth or they're close enough. If you do hit them, they have evade. So this guy's just a nightmare to try to actually kill. Attack-wise, so when it comes to melee survivability, he has some things, that mobility can help out for sure. And the high defense is nice, but overall it's poor. The attack is also poor. Just 6 attack is pretty underwhelming for someone who costs 20 and is a shooter. But keep in mind, he does have microvision and stealth, so I think you're going to be banking on people to get pretty close to you, and then your attack naturally becomes 10, and that's much more manageable. So I guess the attack it's more fair and good rather than poor, honestly. Max damage is good. You got twin, you got damage 10, so that's 2 attacks, 10 damage. Plus, keep in mind, advantageous attack can also come in as well. Special abilities are exceptional. I've listed some of them. You have the advantageous attack, which is essentially just cunning attack, but you're missing the +4 attack bonus. Evade's great. Microvision's kind of like a fun flavor power for the Bith, and I think it works great on this one. The other Bith kind of is useless, or not that interesting. On this guy, it's actually kind of essential to get +4 attack against targets that are close to you, mobile, stealth, and twin attack. So twin attack was new in Bounty Hunter, a lot of fun power there. It's ability synergy and versatility is great. So all these powers, they combine very, very nicely to be a great hit and run mobile stealth shooter. And then moving on top of that, he's got great like versatility as well. He can do a lot of different things with what he has going on. He's a commander, very nice overall character. Commander effect is a 4.5. I thought of doing a 5, but I felt like I'd hold that just for ones I thought were really crazy good. Commander effect is followers with stealth. Within 6 squares, they gain evade, so kind of becomes what he has. It's got evade and stealth. Just frustrating because it's like if someone has stealth, so if someone has accurate shot to try to shoot you, this guy can help them out with that. And then if someone's trying to shoot you within 6 squares, but they're not on top of you, they have to deal with evade again as well. So it's just a pretty solid commander effect. It's the only thing I'd hold back against it is if someone is going to try to shoot you and they're that close, because you have stealth already to kind of deter that, they're probably just going to try to get on top of you and then evade won't work anymore anyways. But either way, still fantastic. Blue Milk is an 8.47. Black Sun score, I gave these as a 4.5. They're one of the best in my opinion. Specialties, they're a Black Sun commander and they're also just a mobile stealth shooter. Kind of that, I know Han Solo doesn't have stealth, but kind of has that archetype of twin, mobile, and then some other things to kind of help out. And then on eBay, pretty cheap overall. So they're pros. They have unbelievable survivability, great commander effect. And then the cons, the base attack kind of sucks, but it's honestly not that big of a deal in my opinion. Okay, let's move on to the Human Blaster for Hire. So Human Blaster for Hire is a pretty interesting character. Overall, kind of crapped upon, but has some one interesting thing I'll mention. So Human Blaster for Hire, it's just kind of a fair character overall. It really has one use and one use only in my opinion. The HP's average. The survivability is bad. You just have 12 defense, nothing special, nothing else to help you. The attack's fine at +4, it's very normal for a 5 costing character. Your damage is pretty standard, being 10 for how cheap he is. Special abilities I think is actually pretty good, and here's why. So special abilities, you put this guy to Black Sun obviously, back to Black Sun squad. He gets grenades 10, and then you can put him with Prince Xizor, get grenades 20. And for having a character cost 5 and having grenades 20 is actually really, really, really cool and kind of underrated in my opinion because it's very cheap and that's, just kind of like a great 50-50 damage potential going on there. It's kind of like a grenadier essentially. So very, very fun for that cost. However, doesn't really do anything else in my opinion. So the versatility, very bad. I'd actually say it's 1.5. It's even worse than poor. And when it comes to Black Sun score, when it comes to Black Sun score, I just give it a 2.5. I didn't want to be too harsh on it because I really like that potential of being a cheap grenadier. Because keep in mind, like the Bothan spy costs like 7 and has grenades 10, so that's actually kind of a huge upgrade. Blue Milk is a 4.57. This guy's just a grunt shooter, kind of grenadier as well. But the pros is that if you put it with Prince Xizor, and also if you add Tarpals for more fun, you could have a lot of 5 costing. You could have a lot of these guys. Like they only cost 5, get a bunch of them, and they could be lobbing grenades 20 twice. And that's really kind of a cool little put together. So after this, that's one of the squads I'll make with that combination of characters, and I think it could be a lot of fun. So definitely would have its cons because if people get too close to you, then grenades isn't quite as good anymore. But would you need something to kind of help fix on those bases? So anyways, cons, just kind of a crappy stats for being a cost 5. Because they are bad stats for costing 5. So, anyways, that's all I'll say on the Human Blaster for Hire. Let's move on next to the Klatooinian Hunter. Klatooinian Hunter is awful. In my opinion, probably one of the worst characters in the entire game at 1.21. It's actually one of the few characters I've ever rated that was that bad. That's hilarious. Wow, that's really bad. So the hit points are poor. So costing 11 and only having 10, bit of a bummer, not too bad. The survivability is atrocious. You have terrible defense. You have heavy weapons. So if you want to do anything, if you want to shoot anybody, you have to set up first and then shoot. So you ain't gonna be around for very long. The attack is bad. 3 attack on 11 cost. Are you kidding me? So most people who cost 11, like for example, a lot of the heavy troopers that are in this range, they typically have like 7 or 8 attack. This guy has 3. He isn't gonna hit anything, unfortunately. He's got no modifiers either. So the base damage, the max damage is great, 30 damage, you know, kind of a nice power shooter thing going on there, but the special abilities are bad. Heavy weapon holds it back. Black Sun's nice, I guess, to get grenades 10, but like, I'd rather have someone else. I'd rather have grenades 10 on a guy as like, either you can really maximize it and make it really good, and he's cheap like the Human Blaster for hire, or other characters that have like other things that they can do as opposed to, you know, just being reliant on it being a heavy shooter. So anyways, his versatility is fine, mostly because he can get grenades 10. I actually think it's worse than this. I overrated this. His versatility should be bad. He really doesn't have a whole lot going for him. Black Sun score, he's bad. Blue Milk hates this guy. He's a power shooter. The pros is that he's one of the cheapest characters that can do 30 damage, so keep that in mind. And he's got horrible stats, and I would just never use him. So terrible character all around. I mean, the scope's all right, so anyway, there's that. Let's move on to the Quarren Bounty Hunter. So Quarren Bounty Hunter is a pretty decent character. I'd give him overall a fair rating. His HP is good for having 20. His range survivability is bad, and also his melee survivability is bad. Just has 14 defense. He has nothing else to help in either regard. His attack is pretty good overall, so he's got 5 attack, but it's very easy to modify. He got Careful Shot +4, and then he has Bounty Hunter +2. So there's situations where you're looking at 11 attack, maybe sometimes you're looking at 6 or 9 attack. So good attack in my opinion. The max damage across the board it's fine. Just 20 damage is normal for an 11. Special abilities are pretty good. I really like the ability to have a lot of attack. Kind of reminds me of Forlom in a way, where he has a lot of abilities to up that attack bonus. So very nice there. And then has Black Sun, and kind of fun for this guy to have Black Sun, because having grenades 10 and then possibly 20 is kind of a decent change of like extra little tool in the tool bag. But anyway, I think his abilities do synergize well together. Being able to hit those unique characters and not moving does really good. His versatility is pretty good as well. Can do a few different things. A good shooter overall. An accurate shooter in terms of attack. Black Sun score, just give it a 3. Blue Milk doesn't like this guy quite as much as I do, and that's totally fair. I'm sure a lot of people don't necessarily think of this guy to put him in a squad. There are better options for sure, but just kind of on his own merits, mixing with other Black Sun characters. There are ways to make this guy actually kind of interesting and usable, but anyway. So he's a bounty hunter. His pros are he's a decent non-unique bounty hunter. He can get 11 attack, which is really nice. But his cons are he's just a bit underwhelming overall. Not too bad, though. Moving on to the Twi-lek Black Sun Vigo. So we got only 2 characters left. And this guy is crazy, and everyone knows. So this guy's awesome. 4.26, probably the best Black Sun character. And one of the best French characters, honestly, for how important he is and what he can do. So his HP is a little underwhelming at 40. The range survivability is awesome, because we're looking at he's got evade, great defense, and greater mobile attack. So it's going to be a pain to knock this guy out with ranged attacks. The melee survivability is not quite as good, of course. The attack of 9 attack is really good. Overall, it's very solid having 9 attack on someone who only costs 18. Solid attack. His max damage is fine. The reason it's good instead of great is he has greater mobile attack, but he doesn't have multiple attacks. So he just has the 10 damage, but then you can also add an Opportunist 20, and those Cunning 20, Opportunist 20 powers are pretty fun. So this guy can do plus 13 attack, 30 damage, which is really good. So definitely a good max damage there. It's situational. So the special abilities are awesome, having evade, having... Anyway, sorry for that other break I just had a second ago. Probably won't notice too much. Special ability synergy goes great. Being able to have the hard to hit mobile abilities. Having Jolt is really, really nice as well, because you can have the opportunity to have a really high damaging attack and activate the character as well, especially if they're, I think, a living character. Actually, just any enemy. Interesting. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So good special abilities. They go very well together. The commander effect is exceptional. So one of the best commander effects in the game, in my opinion, because you have Captain Rex, who gives greater mobile attack, but to very select few. This guy, it's a little bit more like he's fringe. There's a lot more like situations in which you can kind of give this out. So followers with evade, within 6 squares, they gain greater mobile attack. So if you can give someone evade, then you can also give them greater mobile attack as 2. And There's a lot of, like this guy in General Recon, or this guy in, I don't know, a bunch of other people, like the Bith Black Sun Vigo, who gives evade to stealth people. So definitely a fantastic commander effect across the board. Black Sun score-wise, I gave this guy the 5. He's exceptional. Blue Milk rating is through the roof. He's a Black Sun commander, a mobile stealth shooter. And so his pros are he's one of the most important commander. He has one of the most important commander effects in the game. Great support with his Opportunist 20 and Jolt. His cons are, it would be nice to have had double attack by default because he has greater mobile attack, but something you can add later perhaps. So anyways, across the board, this guy's awesome. Last but not least, guys, we have just Xizor, the redo in Imperial Entanglements. So this Xizor is really good, in my opinion. A little bit better than the other one for a couple reasons, and we'll get into why that is. So this guy's got good HP. Not as crazy as the other one, but very solid, because the other way was a shooter and had 40 and 100 HP, whereas this guy is melee and has 90 HP, which is a little bit different story. So the range survivability and melee, both really nice, just like the last one, because of the good defense. Having pheromones, it's very tricky to deal with, or can be. The attack's pretty good. Having 11 attack is nice. Again, the max damage is bad. This guy only just does 10. That's it. No more. Special ability-wise, I think he's great. So here's why. So you got pheromones, and then you have Fringe Reserve 20. I think I should have put this up a little bit higher. No, pheromones was 3.5 on the last guy. So I think this is fair. So pheromones, nice. And then Fringe Reserve 20 is also pretty dang good. So in some ways, kind of feels like he replaces the Rodian Black Sun Vigo by doing the reserves for him instead. So kind of keep that in mind. The ability synergy is pretty good. It's hard to kill this guy, and thus you can hopefully have more opportunities to bring in those fringe reserves. You can use some other characters to maybe help that out. Like if you have Recon, you can roll a couple times. And the Moon Tactics Broker can help too, I believe. Anyways, the versatility, very solid overall. His commander effect, I think, is really good. Commander effect is each Black Sun ally within 6 squares gets 4 attack and 10 damage. That's actually really nice. If you go across all the people we've looked at, you're talking about all those Vigos that are pretty nice. The Bith Black Sun Vigo would be pretty nice with this. All of the Vigos actually would benefit a lot. And then even some of the regular characters as well could be really, really nice if you add this in there. So a really good commander effect to help certain Black Sun characters out. Unfortunately, it does not help Guri, which sucks, but that's how it is. So anyways, this character, I gave him the great rating of 4. Blue Milk would also mostly agree with that, I'd say. And his specialties are he's a Black Sun commander and a reinforcer, kind of like the Rodian Black Sun Vigo. Costs about $22 on eBay, and his pros are he's likely a better option than the OG Xizor, but the other one also has his merits too. The commander effect can make Vigos very deadly, and reserves is nice. But like the other guy, this is melee now, and he really truly has no offensive power at all, so just something to kind of keep in mind. So let's move on over here to the final rankings. In last place, we have the Klatooinian Hunter, not surprised. And then we have the Abyssin Black Sun, and then Human Blaster for Hire, Abyssin Black Sun Thug, Quarren Bounty Hunter, which is just kind of a decent character overall. Rodian Black Sun Vigo, really good, a little bit outdated, but was really, really nice when it came out. The original Prince Xizor, Guri at 3.49, great stats overall, just a couple limitations with that droid. Aqualish Assassin, I love these guys, they're one of my favorite grunts. The Xizor, Bith Black Sun Vigo, and then last but not least, the Twi-lek Black Sun Vigo. So both of those Vigos are pretty sick overall. You can see a big gap. You go from 3.5 to 4.1, so really, really good there. Here's my final chart overall across the board. So feel free to just kind of pause, take a look at it if you want to. I won't go into it too much, but as you can see here, you see a lot of blue with the Bith and the Twi-lek Black Sun Vigos. And there's just a variety of things. You got stealth shooters, you got different kinds of commanders, bounty hunters, power shooters, grunts. A lot of variety in Black Sun, and some characters you probably never use. And then some of them have really interesting kind of niche things that you can set up for them. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed that video on Black Sun characters. Definitely like, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Black Sun characters. Which ones are your favorite? What are some interesting squads or details that maybe I miss? And I'd be love to hear more about that. So anyways, until next time, have a good one.